The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
CFRN.net. That's www.cfrn.net. CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living.
You're listening to CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living. To learn more about who we are, what we do, and how we do it, call toll-free 1-866-928-3310, and we'll send you out a no-obligation information kit absolutely free. 866-928-3310. The CFRN Emini Futures Cast is now on Stitcher. Listen to us on your iPhone, Android phones, BlackBerry, and WebOS phone. Stitcher is smart radio for your phone. Find it in your app store or at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Are you ready, Steve? Andy? Yeah! Bert? Well, all right, fellas. Let's go!
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/CFRN. Over 85,000 titles. Choose from mystery, romance, religion, science, technology, business, New York Times bestsellers, even children's books. You name it, Audible has it. With 85,000 titles to choose from, you're sure to find the perfect audiobook for yourself or to give as a gift, and it's absolutely free. Just point your browser to audibletrial.com/CFRN. That's audibletrial.com/CFRN. And become a part of the audiobook revolution by downloading your free audiobook today. audibletrial.com/CFRN.
Hey, trader, want to get rich quick? Well, good luck with that. If, on the other hand, you actually want to learn how to trade, the place to be is www.cfrn.net. Tune in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern for our daily devotional, and then spend the next 3 hours learning how it's done from professional traders who actually trade for a living. That's www.cfrn.net. Every trading day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro, and even T-bills. Joining us today from our studios in Boston, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon, welcome back. Today is Wednesday, 19th day of September 2018. Hope you are having a wonderful Wednesday, as they call it, the hump day, right? You get over the hump and you're on that downward slide into the weekend, and well, here we are. Now, depending upon your time zone, maybe you're not quite there yet, but ooh, you're close. Speaking of close, the S&P Dow, less than 1% from the high. Dow, triple-digit gains. Oh, the list goes on. Welcome to the show. If you're returning, welcome back. If you're here for the first time, a special welcome to you. We are certainly glad to have you with us. On the big screen, I have the S&P 500 Emini Futures, and we're bumping up against that highest weekly trading zone from last week, again, 2918/19. This week, we still have two, count them two more zones overhead. Okay? Now, if you can't see the chart, go to our homepage, CFRN.net. On the right-hand side of the page, click the big microphone, follow the instructions. In 30 seconds, you'll be registered for the entire month. You only register once per month. That gives you one-click access to the show each and every day. I did see an email in the inbox earlier that said, I think this came in yesterday, one of our very loyal listeners has been having difficulty getting their email from GoTo each day with the link. So it's the same link every day of the month. In other words, it changes. That's why you have to re-register the first day of each month. Now, you can go the YouTube route, youtube.com/CFRN/live. If you bookmark that page, you'll have one-click access, period. But I don't have an opportunity to get into the chat box over there. So if you have questions, it's better that you're in the GoTo environment. Now, you can call GoToWebinar and ask them, excuse me, what the heck is going on? Why am I not getting this email? Because of the way their system works, most likely it's ending up in your spam box or your trash box or some kind of box where you're not looking for it. And I don't blame you, because you would expect it to be in your inbox. Do give GoTo a call. In fact, before the show's out today, I will dig out my super special secret hotline number. And if you give them a ring, they'll run it through their system, and they can trace the route. When the email headed to you left their server, they can figure out where that thing went, and they'll help you get it squared away. If your email client allows you to just search, okay, go in there and search support@cfrn.net. Now, even though GoToWebinar sends that email for us, and that's another thing that probably a lot of folks don't understand. Once you register each week or each month for the daily show, it then becomes the responsibility of GoTo to send that link out. So if you have yesterday's email or the day before or the first day of the month, just if you save that somewhere, wherever you save these kinds of things, just click it. It's that link they're sending you every day, that reminder, hey, the show starts 30 minutes, here's the link. It's the same link. Now, next month it'll be a different link, but this month, same link. So anyway, a lot of words to just say, we want you to be here. We don't want you to experience any difficulties, if at all possible, in attending. So if I can be of more help, do let me know. Type it into the chat box. however you do it. Okay? Okay. Well, we talked about this yesterday. Price ran up last week. When this was the highest weekly trading zone last week, we got within 2 ticks, I think it was, of the zone. Then we had a gap lower open Sunday evening. Napped right up until the doji sounded the alarm. Europe awakened, and we got a little of that, and then another nap, and then things got interesting, don't you know? That brings us to right here. So we ran up yesterday, we hit our target on the L2. Important prices, important areas, almost always tested. It doesn't matter if it's a Concierge Trade Alert or if it's from the Logic 247. Important prices are important prices, important areas. So price gets back below, triggers again, this time taking us to within 1 tick. Go back, and we finally touch it. Now, what's that called? Very good. Rejection. Is that rejection? You know, no one ever asked that before, because it didn't actually touch it. Is it rejection? Well, zones are an area. And so as long as you keep that part in mind, that zones are an area, then, well, we could call that rejection. This certainly is rejection. And by rejection, I mean, it's like this green candle walked across the room, touched the hot stove, and whew, beat a hasty retreat. Now, that's kind of a weak metaphor, but I don't know. That's all I got. I guess we could have a contest. And you could all submit your suggestions. Yeah? No? All right. Well, I guess it would be about time for a little bit of news. A little bit of news. Huh. A third of humanity remains financially excluded. That's a lot of people. Unrestricted access to financial services is one of the main preconditions for achieving economic freedom. However, large portions of the population on this planet, especially in the developing world, remain excluded from the traditional banking system. The number of the unbanked or underbanked citizens of the industrialized, digitized nations is also unexpectedly high now, when almost everyone, everywhere, has a smartphone in their pocket. And that's why the Logic 247, it's with you wherever you go, in which I assume that you know that now Logic 247 is a part of the CFRN passport. That's the go anywhere, do anything CFRN, all under one roof. And most people today in the industrialized world usually have their cell phone in their pocket or within arm's reach. Cryptocurrencies offer an alternative path. Now, the people who are least likely to have a bank account, women and the poor. I mean, in America, most children, they don't even have ID yet. Well, maybe they got a school ID. But I remember even when I was a kid, My grandmother every year would set up a I think they called it a Christmas club account. Yeah. And I don't know, like every week I would get $1 and I would go with her to the bank and I would put that $1 in, and yeah, I mean, that's quite a few years ago, a child, but now grown men trying to run a business, support a family, lead a village, okay, don't have access to banking. And so cryptocurrencies do provide an answer, an alternative path, a fast track, if you will, to financial inclusion. Unfortunately, instead of facilitating it, overly worried states, authorities, and regulators often hamper the economic emancipation of those whose interests they are supposed to uphold. Trying to please political powers, many banks around the world have been busy raising barriers to both individuals and businesses dealing with cryptocurrency. That's not to say they've done enough to broaden the availability of their fiat-related financial services and products. Statistics from a number of sources report that the share of the financially excluded members of societies remains large despite some positive trends of late. The spread of mobile phones and improved access to the internet have accelerated financial inclusion. Over 500 million adults have opened bank accounts since 2014, but this process develops unevenly across different regions and countries, according to a report by the World Bank. The Global Findex Database 2017, a study on how people in 144 different economies use financial services, was published earlier this year in the spring. It shows that almost a third of the planet's population remains unbanked. 69% of adults now have an account at a bank or with a mobile money provider. Now, that mobile money provider, that encompasses probably a third of the, you got a third unbanked, a third have some kind of access to a smartphone, and then a third have the traditional account. However, while the global number of account holders has increased significantly, the progress in nations characterized by large disparities between men and women, where the gap remains unchanged year after year, and between rich and poor, well, that's moving a lot slower. Mobile money services have had a positive effect on the financial inclusion in one of the toughest places on earth, sub-Saharan Africa. The number of people using them has doubled in 3 years, but nevertheless remains very low at 21%, while the share of adults holding accounts with a traditional financial institution stays flat. A fifth of the population in 8 countries, Uganda being one of those, along with Kenya, Senegal, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, Gabon, use only mobile money accounts. Still, 95 million unbanked adults in the region receive only cash payments for agricultural products. In North Africa and the Middle East, there's another problem. Only 35% of women have an account, the largest gender gap among all the studied regions. Also, up to 20 million unbanked adults send or receive domestic remittances using only cash or over-the-counter services. In Europe and Central Asia, account ownership has increased to 65% as of 2017, driven largely by digital government payments of wages, pensions, and social benefits. 17% of the holders opened their first account to receive government payments. At the same time, 40% of the people are currently not making or receiving digital payments. In South Asia, 30% of the adults do not have a banking account. India is a notable exception, with 80% of Indians having an account with a financial institution. In East Asia and the Pacific, however, the growth in account ownership has stagnated during the research period. Close to 30% of the people in the region remain unbanked. Well, you would have thought that the situation is way better in developed countries like the US, but it actually it isn't that different. There's different reasons, but when the level of development of financial services is taken into account, results should be much more encouraging. According to a detailed report from 2016 produced by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, 7% of American households are unbanked. Yes, that's households, not individuals. The unbanked black households, however, were over 18% of the total, more than 16% among Hispanic households. Unbanked rates for Asian households actually increased during the examined 2-year period from 2.2 to 4%. Most of the research, well, there is one other study. The most unbanked places in America is the name of it. You could Google it up. Almost 18% of U.S. households are underbanked. The term describes people with insufficient access to mainstream financial products such as credit cards and loans, lacking proper access to common services from retail banks. Many of these citizens are often heavily reliant on microfinance services such as those offered by loan sharks and pawnbrokers. According to the folks behind the study, cities where over a fifth of the residents do not have bank accounts include Miami, Detroit, and Newark. So we're making progress, perhaps not as rapidly as we would all like to see, but progress is progress nonetheless. Am I right? I'm right. You know I'm right. Well, the only other bit of news I'm going to bring to you today are the numbers. We're going to just jump to the numbers right here, right now. These are the current numbers from around the world. These are the cash markets. We'll get to the futures here in just a moment. The Dow is currently up 194 points. That's 0.75%. The NASDAQ, on the other hand, is down 19 points. S&P 500 is up 5. The Russell 2000 is down 3. In the commodity basket, crude oil up 76 cents, trading 70.61 last. That's a gain of about 1%. Gold added $5.70 today, keeping its head above that $1,200 level, trading 12.0840 last. In Asian markets, the Nikkei finished up 251 points, over 1%. Shanghai added 30 points. And for the Shanghai, that's over 1%. The Hang Seng had a green day, up 322 points at the close, also over 1%. Last but not least, it was a green day in the European markets. FTSE up 30 points, almost half of 1%. The DAX up 61, half of 1%. And the CAC up 30, a little over half of 1%. So there you have it, a green day in Asia, a green day in Europe, and a mixed day here in the US, primarily due to the NASDAQ and the Russell. We'll be back in a moment. We'll talk to John. We'll take a look at some tech news. We'll go over the Concierge Trade Alerts and, of course, answers to your questions. If you have them, put them in the chat box. If you're new to the show, no one sees what you type into the chat box except myself or Michael or Bert if he happens to be here. So if you have a question about anything related to the markets, futures, life in general, put it in the box. If we don't have the answer, my friend the internet does, and we'll find it for you, or we'll help you find it. Fair enough? And here's Michael.
Here. Okay.
Is that Michael?
That is Michael.
Well, hey.
Hey.
How you doing?
All right. Good times.
President Trump's visiting your lovely state.
Is he?
That's what I just saw flash up on the... President Trump visits North Carolina to survey hurricane damage.
Oh yeah, he's probably flying out to Bloomington.
He looks like he's on the ground right now, walking around.
Is he?
Laughing, talking, smiling. And but this Stormy Daniels just will not go away. Unbelievable. She's out with a new... She's milking this for all she can. Alright, let me get your chart up.
Alright.
I mean, you know... So the guy had biblical relations, marital. Well, I guess it's not biblical if he wasn't married to her, but he had relations with a woman, and then pretty much saved the world. But hey, he had relations with the woman, so yeah, it don't count.
Didn't seem to have any effect on Clinton.
Made him a hero.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He sat there and lied right to the nation.
He was a big dog. Big dog.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
Oh.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
Huh.
Liar, pants on fire.
Something's amiss. Oh, okay. I missed it. So now it's not a miss. Okay. Alright, so the screen's ready to go.
Okay.
And I'll hit mute and it's all yours.
Alright, excellent. It is 12:30. Let me see if John's here yet. No, he is not.
Tear it up.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Wednesday, the 19th day of September 2018. If you have not taken a free trial with us, go to the homepage at CFRN.net. Right over here in the right-hand column, it says 5-day free trial, apply.cfrn.net. If you click on that, or if you scroll down here to where it says free 5-day trial, or if you scroll down here where it says use our proprietary indicators for free, if you click on any of those, you will eventually be brought to this page where we ask for your email, your first name, and how you found us. Hit the submit button. When you hit the submit button, you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click on the confirmation link, okay? If you don't click the confirmation link, you don't get a free trial because we don't know you took the free trial until you hit that confirmation link. Yeah. Okay, so that's what's next. Sorry. All right. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you can read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. And the spreadsheet goes back over 5.5 years now. Today, as I said, is the 19th day of September 2018. Today we made 12 ticks in crude and 3 ticks in gold. Put us at plus 150 on the morning. Today it took 87 minutes and 5 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up 101.25. We did a total of 7 opportunities this morning. So on the month now, we're at 1,043. That's over 12 days. And on the year, we're at 24,445. That's over 172 days, averaging 142 per day. Okay, 142 per day. Yeah. Now let's show you what happened. Okay. I drew in this range here because Bert and I were talking about how choppy it got and how you want to wait for it to break out of that range before you do anything. Now we had just one break even right here on the gold, and then we had 1 plus 3 right here once it broke out of that range. It did come right back down into the range. Right in here you can see it's back in the range, and we don't have anything else there that we can do. All right, there was a bounce off the BBC right here, but it wasn't trending, so there was really nothing we can do. Okay, that was during the break. On the euro, we started out here on the euro with a stop out or -8 ticks. All right, we missed a short trade right there. That would have been a break even. And right here, we picked up 5 ticks, so we're at -3 at that point. Right here, we picked up 3 more to get us back to even on the morning. And then this was all during the break. It looks like it was very choppy during the break. There was actually a long trade from right here during the break that gave some profit, and it pulled back down, and you did not get any more trade setups. See, it just, I'd like to see it trending better than this before you take another trade setup on the short side here. Okay. Crude oil. Let's see. Crude inventories came out today. They were just about as expected, and they were closer to the crude inventory expectation than they were to the API numbers that came out yesterday. On crude, we had this one right here where we picked up 2 ticks. And right here, I was just drawing this channel that was there, and then the crude inventories came out, and it bounced it around pretty good. And so we didn't do anything with it for a while. And over here, I started to notice it was trending pretty good. I highlighted a couple of areas that there were opportunities. It changed direction, and it was a bounce off the BBC right here for that leg up. There was also another trend line trade right here. I could have gotten you that right there. In here, we had to close above the trend line. We picked up 10 ticks, so that was good. Changed direction. There was a short there. And then during the break, let's see. During the break, we had a shorting opportunity there and there. And that was pretty much it on crude today. Okay, we ended with plus 12 on the crude. On the ES, it bounced back and forth with between these two zones. I had a feeling it was going to do that this morning. You see there was one trade opportunity here, then it just got really sideways and congested, and went back up, hit the BBC, came back down. Hit the weekly trading zone, came back down, hit the weekly trading zone, went halfway back up, and then got really congested again. And Bert and I were talking about how when it's like this, you just stay out of it. And I was afraid that once it got jammed up in between these two zones, since there's only 5 points in between them, that it was going to be jammed up all day. And that is exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. Okay, so we'll come back over here. We'll come back over here and look at this, the spreadsheet. Again, the spreadsheet goes back over 5.5 years. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you could read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today's the 19th day of September 2018. We picked up 12 ticks on crude and 3 ticks on gold to put us at plus 150 on the morning session. Today, it took 87 minutes and 5 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're at 101.25, and we took a total of 7 opportunities this morning. So on the month now, we're at 1,043. That's over 12 days. And on the year, we're at 24,445. That's over 172 days, averaging 142 per day. Okay. Now, if you have not taken a free trial with us, go to the homepage at CFRN.net and look right over here on the side. It says 5-day free trial, apply.cfrn.net. If you click on that, you'll be brought to this page where all we ask for is your email, your first name, how you found us. Hit the submit button and you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click on that confirmation link. Okay, if you don't click the confirmation link, we don't know that you took the free trial. All right? Okay. There. Now, we can pass it back out to Studio A in fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. If Dwayne is ready.
Yep.
Excellent. Excellent.
Okay, and a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and we're good. Okay, price turning down on the S&P 500.
It is indeed beginning to turn down.
Last night's Concierge Trade Alert suggested, what is this? Where's this? What time did they get out? They got out at 10:20. Okay. 22:20. Just okay. Now it's all making way too much sense. Got it. Okay, 29.13. We were looking to go considering long. However, this little guy right here. The alerts came out here, and I don't know what happened, but it came in as 29139, which it's not correct. It should have been. Shoulda, woulda.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
You've got a zone at 17, 23. Yeah. It was supposed to be 29.19. That's the deal. And if you took the 29.13 here, I mean, you know, you're in tall cotton. If you understood it was 29.19, then you're still waiting by a tick. And that's really, I think, what clues me into. That's the proper. Let me just show you guys. You can take a snapshot of this, guys. Even though I erroneated, I just made a new word. I don't think that it's previously been used in the English language. There you go. Yeah. Why don't you consider buying 29139? It's actually 2919. But hey. So, what else going on? Recap the recap.
Today, it took 87 minutes and 5 trades to get to the goal. At that point, we were up 101.75. I'm sorry, 101.25. 101.25.
Okay. 87 minutes, 5 trades. Good job.
Yeah.
So, the Department of Justice launching a Tesla probe. Any idea why?
I don't have any idea why.
Probably because of Elon's, I'm going to take it, private shenanigans to run up the price, which worked for a moment. Anyway. All right.
Yes.
Okay, so any sign of John out there?
Yep, he just popped in.
Okay. Well,
I'll open up his mic.
if you're all completed here, then I guess we'll move along.
Okay, I'm jumping.
Hello.
John,
yep, there he is.
welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
Doing good. Doing good.
The Tesla thing, you know, the tweet, I think the SEC is probably under pressure to kind of do something. You know, they can't just let him off the hook, and that's what's going on. You know, he might get a smack on the wrist, but might get something bigger. You just can't tell. But it's, you know, he said some things in the subsequent tweets which were pretty damning. You know, he said, "Don't worry, everybody's going to be fine. you know, everybody's going to make money, etc. You know, we're not almost saying like the stock's not going to go down.
Yeah.
And you know, now look at it. It's really you know, that's a big problem for him. I think bigger problem probably saying that, because a lot of people could have been lulled into holding on, and now they got a, you know, now stock's $100 lower or nearly. So it's a definitely, and then actually the way the market's going, I mean, look at the you know, we're very vulnerable to a sudden breakdown here. In fact, there's sort of two scenarios. We're either going to have a real, you know, if the Dow gets to a new record, we're only a couple of 100 points away now, maybe 300, roughly, or maybe 250.
1%, I think, is what I.
Yeah. So the thing is, look, even though we're kind of going down, I mean, we're only barely positive on the S&P. We were down 50 points on the Nasdaq earlier on. So obviously, not all is right in the way the market's acting. But in spite of this, you know, we could still have another update tomorrow, maybe, but with a day that doesn't necessarily go to a new high on the mid cap and the Nasdaq possibly, but enough to get to a new high on the Dow. If that happens and then we fail, and by the way, if the S&P doesn't get much above its recent high either, you really have a pretty dangerous setup developing. So where, you know, things could fall apart very rapidly. The other thing is the putting on the 200 billion tariffs. That's enough to impact on you know, all kinds of things like auto parts and things that come from China that are going to raise the value of cars maybe several percent, you know, a few $1,000s possibly, maybe even more. And that's going to affect all kinds of things like washing machines and appliances. So it's going to really, you know, out of nowhere, we're probably going to suddenly see an inflationary pop that could be pretty dramatic. And oh, I've got to get this. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Okay. Let me. Back.
I'm here.
No,
that's me. That's not John.
Okay. All right. I was just reading a text from Bert, and okay. All right. So I texted him back. Anyway, we'll get on. Let's move over to the Dow. Take a look at the Dow. Yesterday we put up a chart and had some discussion regarding this particular move, entry, target. Market continues to rise, and you finally get an exit signal here, which isn't a lot higher than here, but, well, the close of this candle, 26291. So from 250 to 191, you get about a 60-point difference. 5. So $100 per contract traded. It added an additional $5.50 per contract available simply by waiting. Now, I believe that was factored here. I guess I better do the math. Yeah. Okay. A pen. The digital age. Man struggles to find a pen. Alright. Struggle no more. Alright. Let's see. This number again. The exit signal tells us to close 26291. So 26291. I have a calculator. 26291 minus 26230. That's 61 points at $5 per point. It's $305. That's what I come up with. So this figure is erroneous. This is why I'm taking the time to chase it down, because I don't want it to be erroneous. I better go back and check the original numbers. 26,230 pretty simple. 290 minus 230 is 60 times 5 is $300 per contract. And so this was originally a $100 per contract trade from 2630 to 2650. Okay. So what it did was it turned a $100 per contract trade into a $300 per contract trade. These notes may have even gone with something else and got drug over, but they're showing on the screen right now, so I don't want them to be. And if I missed something or got the math wrong, and you have an answer. Oh, speaking of, were there any questions in the chat box?
There was one question, and it was more directed to me than you.
Okay.
And I already checked out the email. And yeah, so I'm pretty sure I have something already prepared that somebody else has done, and I'm pretty sure I can find that up, dig that up, and send it off to him.
Okay, I tracked it down. Hey, Paul. Yeah. Do you understand what Paul is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is he the one who's not getting his email for the show?
No. That was somebody else yesterday.
Okay. I sent you an email right at 11 a.m. Okay. Well, I guess I'll go look for it, Paul.
I've already addressed it.
Okay. All right.
Because he sent it to support.
I do.
So
Screenshots
more for me.
while here in the room. Put a good handbook. We'd have to change the label. Okay. All right. So you're taking care of it. I got you. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a Michael thing. All right. Well. Jolly. Good. All right. Back to the recap. All right. On the Dow email last night, the one you just took a screenshot of. Consider being long at 26,370. Wow. I've been threatening to get a new mouse for a very long time, and I think I'm actually quite surprised that there isn't one just hanging out. Alright, so from 26,370 up to a swing high at 500. 370, 500. That'd be 130 points. At $5 a point. And we're looking at $650 per contract available. Now, all right. Now this was not an L2. This particular number. This was this Concierge Trade Alert. That's what I'm going over right now. Is the CTAs. So just don't want anybody to get confused on that part. So 26370. Now you'll notice that we have another situation here where we do not have an exit signal. Okay. Does that mean you shouldn't trade to a hard target? Should you just forget hard targets and wait, you know, for exit signals? No, I'm not saying that. Having a hard target, having something to point your ship at, that's a good thing. But when you arrive, when you get there, when you pull in, if the market still shows signs of moving higher or lower, depending upon the type of trade that you're in, then ask yourself, if it was somebody else and it wasn't my money and I was giving them advice, what would I tell them to do? You'd be amazed how many times you come up with a different answer. The answer would be, well, let me see some sign that the market actually is, you know, ready to retrace, reverse, hit a brick wall, anything. What do you got? Show me. All right. Now, if you are a passport carrying CFRN member / partner, you would look to your weekly trading zones to see if there's anything going on there, and you would be really interested to see that. In fact, you see that, Michael? You don't see it.
I see that.
What do you see? Come on, come on.
That right there. Hang on. Let me go back to this. Yes, the black step line.
Actually, I was referring to the highest weekly trading zone for the week.
Oh, the highest weekly trading zone.
But
there.
I'll go ahead and throw it out there. And the highest weekly trading zone for the week, 26510. 26510/15. And for some reason, when the platform loaded this time, it gave me this instead of, normally I have all these different things you can do, but every now and then when it loads, it just doesn't load that part. So anyway, you got a general idea. 26,510 to 15. That is the highest weekly trading zone this week for the Dow. Sure I'm on the right week. Yep. 510/515. So obviously that's a big heads up. But take a look at this. Okay, look at the size of this candle and this candle and this candle and this candle. They're all, you know, different sizes. But do these three, this is my question to the audience, do these three really stand out? Of course they do. Instead of being large, green, aggressive, moving higher kind of candles, you get a little doji. And a little doji. It's like a car slowing down. He peeled out, you know, and he's gunning it. Is that a cop up ahead? He slows down. Nope. So he guns it again. Wait, what's that? He's fumbling with the radio. But now, he definitely has applied the brakes. Rejection, we were just talking about that earlier. If it doesn't actually touch the zone, if it misses it by a tick, is that still rejection? Well, I have to say yes, because zones, as I've taught you, are an area. Okay? Yes, they paint an exact number on your chart, so do fibs. So do other things, but it's an area. Okay? And so as you see the momentum waning, because the range of these candles gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Now what's the next thing most likely to happen if this continues on this next 30-minute candle, which is due out in 3 minutes? This black step line may hook a right turn, okay, just like that, which will then ultimately lead to it crossing, and then right your exit signal will come after it crosses, not before. It's got to cross first, and then a red candle closing below the step line on the back side of the CFMA1. All right, that's your exit signal. Now, let's think about this. We expect a weekly trading zone overhead to be good resistance until it isn't. All right. So we got within a tick. Was it a tick? A 0.04? No, actually we missed it by 6 points. The swing high was 26,504. The zone was 26,510. There are no ticks with the Dow, only points. Knowing that we have this looming overhead, if we could exit here, knowing that this may be good resistance, it is the highest weekly zone for the Dow, then the only thing, if this does serve as good resistance, you're just waiting to get out at a lower price. Unless price breaks through and begins a whole new cycle with a leg and a retracement, and then if you're in the trade long, hopefully a continuation of that leg. So this is an instance where you might make an executive decision and say, I believe that I've had a very nice trade. I'll take profit here, knowing I don't have an exit signal, but the price has already demonstrated its difficulty with this price in this area. Now, is everybody following me on that? Sam, you're asking what broker are you using for these charts? The broker that we use is Daniel's Trading. I see that Michael had answered you there. DT Pro is the name of the platform. Daniel's Trading clears through Gain Capital. Gain Capital is one of the largest clearing firms, if not the largest. I don't know, it'd probably be between them and RJ O'Brien, I guess. In other words, many brokers clear through Gain Capital. If you are with a broker that clears through Gain Capital, you can find that out with a simple phone call or visit to their website if you don't know. If they clear business through Gain, you will have access to a platform that looks just like this. The only real difference would be, instead of having the Daniel's Trading logo up in the corner, it will have any other broker's logo. But everything else is the same. It has an indicator store where you can go and you can test drive our indicators, install them as part of your trial, put them through the paces. Sam, let me give you a number, 866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. If you call that number, you'll speak with Bert, and Bert is a real friend of CFRN. He'll be happy to get you set up with wherever you're at in the process and make sure you have your charts up and running properly, and also access to the indicators, whatever it is that you need. Bert's a great guy. And we sure do miss Leslie. Gosh, it seems like we should have like an invite Leslie back one day show so that we can talk about the old times, I guess. When if you just needed your spirits lifted, all you had to do was call 866-928-3310, because she was there, perky and bright and full of life, and I miss her. So, moving on. So everybody understands. Last night's Concierge Trade Alert said to consider buying 26370 on the Dow. In doing so, you could still be in that trade if you want to be. You could have also taken profit anywhere along the way. You're in control, you're driving the bus. You see, with the new candle, we're 2 minutes into the new 30-minute candle, and you see how it made that right turn and then immediately hooked a left turn? So, I mean, it could spend a tremendous amount of time here consolidating before it makes up its mind if it's going back up into that rarefied air area, or if it's coming back to where it's shown us that it is comfortable. Now remember, this all started with a bullish cross. Price pulled away, price pulled back to physically touch, up close, by the open of the next candle, plus 1 tick, and 300 Dow points later, you're sitting right here. Price always reverts to the mean. In this case, the mean being the BBC, which simply stands for bull bear cross. When price is above it, we anticipate higher prices, and when price is below, we anticipate lower prices, as you can see. And when they're tied in a knot, we prefer just to sit it out, make a sandwich, walk the dog, and wait for the conditions to change. We're heading right back up into the area. So again, you can make an executive decision to go, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead, and or you could put price, you know, because it's the Dow and it's $5 a point, you could, you know, 5-10 points behind price right now, and go to the mall, buy yourself something pretty. When you come back, you will have either had your stop taken out and your profits protected, or you'll have more profits and you can go back to the mall and buy something really pretty, you know, however you want to do it. Let's move on now to the Russell. So everybody understands this, no questions. You understand the entry, you understand the weekly zone, the effect that it has on the market, you understand the CFMA1, the step line, you know what an exit signal looks like. It would be a tragedy for me to move on right here, right now, if there's one person even in this audience that does not understand all those big fancy words I just used. Anybody? I go over them every day, but I know that sometimes, yeah, you don't want to go public and say I don't know. It's okay to say I don't know. That's how you learn. All right. Go to the Russell. See what we can point out there. Keep in mind, with the exception of that zone I just put on the Dow chart, these are last week's zones. Is it any wonder why I suggest to those of you who have not yet obtained your passport, okay, that on Thursdays, when I reveal the weekly trading zones to the general population, it's a good idea to maybe jot them down, because these are last week's zones, but this is this week. And what did price do? It went from zone to zone to zone to zone, back down to the zone, back up to the zone, back down to the zone, and then alley-oop down to the next zone below. Okay, it's a $300 per contract move right there, and that's a $300 per contract move up, and $300 per contract back down. Okay, last night the Concierge Trade Alert for the Russell said to consider buying 1723. I can't think of a worse place to buy it, but that's what the email said. And so now I'm going to sweep it under the carpet, just as we proudly displayed the information on the Dow. There's no shame in an unprofitable trade. It is not a reflection on you as a person or anything else. It is simply just another trade. 1723, swing high 1724.2. 1 point in the Russell is 50 bucks. And so this is the truth about trading. And that truth is some trades get stopped out. The email also said if the opportunity presents itself to consider selling 1713, which on the surface looks pretty sweet until you draw your line like this, because on its way up it took a little dive here, and we put in a swing low at 1712.40. 6 ticks. Now there are ticks in the Russell, just points in the Dow, ticks in the Russell. 10 ticks per point, $5 per tick. And so triggering here would result in a stop out. We don't want to risk more than $300 per contract per trade. We just don't, that's our guideline. We just don't feel it's necessary to determine whether or not, you don't need to risk more to determine whether or not you're on the profitable side of the trade or not. Now, just because it crosses the line does not necessarily mean you're triggered in. Because we don't want to risk more than $300 per contract per trade, we have to determine our stop placement. And so we have an entire methodology that helps you with your stop. It walks you through 3 steps. If you find acceptable risk, then that's where your stop will be. We've got 3 charts to look at. I teach you all of that in the mentoring sessions, the one-on-one mentoring sessions. If you find acceptable risk, then you trigger in. If not, you don't. And of course the same goes over here. Now this one, you know, you could crow about and go, wow, this one dropped all the way to 1703, 10 points. Yeah, it is. But you have to take a look at your chart. Obviously you could not put a stop way up here. Book a mentoring session and I'll walk you through it. Okay, moving on to crude. So recap of the Russell is a stomp out, potentially another stomp out, and then potentially 10 points available, which is $500 per contract. That's the maximum available. And of course, when you trail a stop, you'll leave a little something on the table. No one gets out at the swing high or swing low except by accident. All right, crude put in a high for the week, 70.71. Last night the email said to consider being long 69.95, which should be right about there. Swing high over here. Oh, 69.95 on the nose. Thought we had escaped it. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, once again, when I publish the number 69.95, that's what I'm publishing. Now, it used to be consider being long above 69.95. But because that left questions, oh, well, where above? So I changed. It's, if I publish 69.95, then I mean 69. That's what I'm trying to communicate to you, is 69.95, right there. Okay. Now the alert came out again at 10:20. So 22:20. So we go find the 2200 candle. It's right here. So it runs right up to the important price, important area. Taps it. Swing high, 69.95. If you are set to trigger at 69.95 long, then you trigger. Again, some of our traders will wait for some kind of a close on the other side of the trigger, and it's what you've worked out in sim that fits you. It could be a 5-minute close above. It could be a 1-minute close above. It can be the number. Meaning, just go with the number, because they understand that being stopped out is it's a part of trading. It happens, which is why we use aggressive risk management. Number one, you do not know what's going to happen next. And number two, some of your trades will get stopped out. Still working on number three. But you can take number one and number two to the bank. Proper ID required. Alright, so from 69.95, important prices, important areas, almost always tested. So 71 and 5 would be 76. That would be $760 per contract available. Now, again, no getting out at the swing high or swing low unless you're lucky. And I mean, if it's a luck thing, you should probably just play the lottery. I don't know. Or go to Vegas. If you're depending on luck for any of this, there's a better way. And you're looking at it. Now, on this crude trade, 69.95 up to the swing high, $760 per contract available. All right. Now, if we throw our indicators up there, do we have an exit signal yet? No. Now, from here back down to here, was that a nail biter? Yeah. Could it have continued down? Yeah. Do you have to wait for the exit signal? No. You can trade to a hard target. You can trade to your goal for the day and just be done the way we've always taught you. That hasn't changed. In fact, no matter how you're trading, I stand behind, have a goal for the day, reach your goal, put the mouse away. Reach your goal, have a goal, a reasonable goal. Now, if you're brand new to the markets, maybe you don't even know what reasonable is. Okay, well, I want to make a grand a day. All right, nothing wrong with that. Lots of people make a grand a day in the market. How are you going to make your grand a day? Again, it has to be reasonable. Well, I'm going to trade one contract on the S&P, and that's how I'm going to do it. Okay. Well, it pays $50 a point. So you need it to move 20 points. After you get in, long or short, you need it to move 20 points to give you your grand. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't move 20 points in a straight line. But there are other ways of achieving that grand a day. What if I told you instead of 20 points, you only needed 2 points? You'd say, get out. or shut the door? Well, I'm here to tell you that the way to solve the market equation, in my opinion, Michael's opinion, and the CFRN opinion, we, the empirical we, agree that more contracts and not more points is what makes sense. It's what's doable, it's what's reasonable, it's what's achievable. You start out small, go slow, and you work your way up. Yes, we all want to just kick the door in, both guns blazing, and tear it up. I have never seen that end well for anyone. I never have. So the slower, measured approach is what's in your best interest. Okay. Now, as you see, price pulled back. We never got a sell signal. We still have not recaptured the swing high, but the market's certainly trying. If I had sat through all of this, I would be, of course, watching this rather closely to see how it's going to handle. Okay, because that's rejection right there. What was it rejecting? Oh, was it rejecting a zone? Nope. Not this week's.
Hello?
Hi, John.
Hi there. Sorry about that. It took a bit longer than expected.
Oh,
yeah, so I see you had the crude up there a minute ago. You remember what we were saying a couple of days ago about it breaking over 70? You know, that actually came with a bit of a build yesterday, which put it down overnight. But it bears out that the markets are getting tighter. Excuse me, getting tighter and tighter.
Well, that's right. We had inventory numbers today, right?
Yeah. I didn't see what they were, but they might have come in a bit tighter than expected.
I didn't either. So, Michael, are you still there? So anyway, yeah, we had the inventory numbers today, and we've put in a swing high up at 70.71, and we don't expect it to trade. Well, it's still got plenty of room to run to our highest weekly zone. So what else is going on today?
Well, the
70.
I know. Can you believe? Remember, I said it's going to 200. Remember, I said it might go to 200 yesterday.
I remember.
I was.
You nailed it, man. Good job.
Thanks. Well, this is an extraordinary development, obviously by any measure, but it is symptomatic of how market tops like this happen. You usually have an awesome stock that nobody can believe that does something like this. So this looks like, they're going to be called, in a way, I was thinking about this yesterday, actually, after I said about the 200 on the air. And I was thinking about this being kind of a Google, because remember, I think I told you this story before, but I got a cold call one time about Blockbuster Video back in, I think it was 87. And some guy was trying to tell me to put $10,000 in, and unfortunately I didn't do my homework. I didn't realize that the CEO of Blockbuster had been the CEO, I think, of Waste Management before, a very successful guy. And
he's mobbed up, that guy.
And he was basically branding. And by the way, the week that this call came in, Barron's had, front cover was every man and his dog was selling videos, the gas stations and everybody. Right. So nobody really understood what Blockbuster's plan was, which was to come in and create a brand where everybody would go. And that's what they did. And I put that 10 grand in, I would end up making $367,000 in just a few years later. So that's why I don't leave any stone unturned when I look at any stock these days, because you never know, the next Blockbuster could be around the corner. And I know Blockbuster's gone out of business, but effectively, there's a few stores still open. But you know, they didn't move with the times. They got eclipsed by Netflix, which is the new Blockbuster. So
yeah,
the
I mean, yeah, Blockbuster should have morphed into Netflix.
And Roku is one of these, you know, Blockbuster, you know, Netflix lookalikes now.
Well, they say Roku's kind of running scared because of what Bezos is up to.
Well, yeah, they should be. You know, that's the whole thing. You know, Bezos is systematically moving in on all kinds of lucrative areas, and you know, he could potentially, you know, go after Dish and even DirecTV.
Good health. I have no doubt that he will.
Look, you've got the biggest thing going on in the world right now that's really epic is the 5G, the rollout of 5G, because all of a sudden you've got, you know, 100 megabyte plus speeds, you know, where you're bringing, you know, high speed internet to the mobile and streaming and everything else. And there's, you know, the cable companies of today that have a lot invested in the infrastructure of all this cabling around the country that comes into your home. You know, all that's going to be obsolete pretty soon, and the costs are going to be drastically reduced because it's all going to be, you know, you don't even have to have fiber optic anymore. It's going to come in, you know, it's going to come through the airwaves. So you know, all of this integration of the home with, you know, the car, the home, and everything is going to be epic. You know, it's going to be transformational. And right now the telephone companies, you know, Verizon and T-Mobile in particular, which has just picked up Sprint. You know, what a lot of people don't realize is when they bought Sprint, they picked up a lot of bandwidth that was exclusive to this 5G. Which apparently nobody else has. So they may, I don't know this for sure, but this is what I heard, they have a kind of a monopoly on the best bandwidth out there, you know, for 5G. And that gives them a huge edge. And if you notice, the stock's been hitting new all-time highs recently. And they've had to finally bring their prices down. You know, they're offering 4 lines for $30 a line now, which is, you know, some of the competitors are as low as 25 or maybe even 20. But you know, that's the whole cell phone, you know, really the cost of a line has come down, and even though the price of a smartphone has come up, the repayment of, you know, even on an i10 is not that onerous, and it's enabling this incredible cycle of, you know, that's why that's why the world is selling so many smartphones today, because it's sort of a built-in upgrade cycle is keeping the whole thing, you know, self-perpetuating. It's doing everything. It's creating better you know, better research, more innovations, you know, that are built into each new cycle. And it's a little bit like what Microsoft should have done back in the old days. Instead of taking over, what was the first web browser?
Netscape Navigator?
Netscape, yeah. And it was,
I don't know if that was the first one, but it's the...
Well, the dominant one, you know, instead of trying to put them out of business, if Microsoft had, you know, like they do with some of these products where you can download a free copy of Adobe, but if you want all the bells and whistles, right, you have to... you
gotta pay.
Yeah, exactly. So if they'd done that with the browsers in the early days, I think we'd be using much better browsers today. They're getting better, but they're not. There's a lot more that could be done, you know.
What kind of improvement would you like to see?
Well, more speed than anything, I think, you know, these days. So,
do you feel that your browser is not able to keep up with the speed you have access to?
You know what? I got a bit of a speed issue at the moment. I mean, this I think you got to have the computing power, browsing, you know, efficient browser and internet to really get, you know, you know, to so that you're not slowed down by waiting for stuff to happen. You know what I mean? You got to really have everything. And I've got a couple of computers that I need to replace to get that computing power because if you're limited by even 100 megs these days, isn't that fast? A true 100 megs.
No.
I mean, I've even noticed it on yours, Dwayne. Sometimes when you pull up a website and things, it takes time.
Yeah, it does, and it depends.
Yeah.
Like with the Opera, if you turn on the VPN, that's
it
going to slow
slows it down.
you down. Yeah.
I'm using that actually. That's a great feature. It's a really neat feature. But then, I think the VPN is a good device. It seems we haven't heard too many stories recently of computers being hijacked and stuff like that. I think a lot of the protection has risen to the level where it's making it a lot more difficult for that to happen.
I thought I had built a speed test into this, but I guess I did not. I have to put that on my things to do list. I don't know. I haven't checked mine of late, and it varies. But 5 milliseconds.
That's pretty good. 5 ping is very fast.
Get a good number this time.
No, that's excellent. That's very good.
Yeah, 201.
Google Bing. Yeah, check that. That's the one. Yeah.
1 millisecond pings. Boy, but nowhere near the speed.
Yeah, that's a truer representation of the speed. That one. That's it sort of tells you the real story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And so I don't.
So
I rarely ever use this one because, well, call me suspicious, but internet speed test. Now, who's this from? Now, I was going to Cox Communications because that's my internet provider, but look what popped up. Have you seen this before?
No, I haven't. No.
I did not ask for it. Okay, so this is just something that Google's putting out there. To run the test, you'll be connected to Measurement Lab. Your IP address will be shared with them, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so run the speed test. Okay. Not so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, now what I should be at is 200. No, I think it's 300 up and 20. I mean, I'm sorry, 300 down. Or maybe it's 200. I forget.
Yeah.
And 20 up.
Dwayne.
The thing is, there's so many factors, and you can come back in a few minutes and run it and come up with something different. I mean, there's network traffic, there's congestion, there's all kinds of things. But certainly, I think most of us could get by with 100. I mean, just imagine. I mean, think about what we were at just a few years ago.
Yeah, no. It's. I mean, look, we're living in a phenomenal world today, without any doubt. It's a pleasure to get up every day, but when you get up today, there's so much information at your fingertips today. It's just mind-boggling, frankly. There's not enough time to do everything. There's so many things going on.
More content will be uploaded to YouTube today than you could watch in your entire lifetime if that's all you did from cradle to grave was watch YouTube. You could not watch everything that will be uploaded today.
Yeah. No, it's staggering. It's staggering.
It is. And
you have to be. You always have to be.
All the information in the world. How did it? Stuff doesn't just jump onto the internet. All those dusty old books and libraries on shelves wherever. When the internet came along, all that information just didn't magically appear on the internet. It took a human and an interface device to get that knowledge and information, into digitized format and onto the internet. It amazes me how rapidly that happened.
Yeah. I'm just watching some of the things going on in the market today. The mid caps are down. They're taking a bit of a beating today. You can see that we're, at least for this moment, we're putting in some topping action over a number of different things, which is being masqueraded by the Dow hitting close to all-time highs, and the financials as well, having a pretty strong run today. Why are the financials going up? Because interest rates are rising. We're in that accelerated mode. We're getting into an accelerated mode here, and it could be a run for the roses. I mean, when this is a little bit of the 87 behavior, if you like, or scenario, where the interest rates start rising very rapidly. I mean, if the interest rates are rising, why are they rising? They're rising because the GDP is at 4.2, probably means that it's could be closer to 4.5 or 4.8 or even 5 for the interest rates to be rising this rapidly, having broken through 140. We're just around there at the moment. We got lower this morning. We rallied a bit, but we're down around the 140. That's hurting the tech stocks. It's taking a lot of stocks lower already because the bastion of bullishness, which is the breadth, is definitely not been acting very well recently. Most days we open higher breadth, we sell off. So all the time there's an increasing number of stocks that are actually selling off behind the veneer of what's going on in this market. And and what I was saying about Tilray, this king of this could Tilray be the Google of the marijuana business? You can't rule it out. This marijuana business is gigantic. I mean, if it takes a Canadian potential blockbuster type stock to this Tilray is acting better than Google. Remember Google started out at $100 and it took a while to go to 200. I bet you that Tilray's gone from 100 to 200 a lot faster than Google. and you should consider that, bear that in mind, because there's obviously something pretty big going on here.
John, this thing gapped the other day. That's what I wanted to ask you. From what was it, 155? I don't know. And then it opened at 2. I mean, it gapped up like $80, $90.
Yeah, we actually sold it this morning at 230 something, 233. We bought it back at about 180.
Do you know?
Well, it had a great close last night. It closed at the all-time high.
I'm on a 30-minute chart here. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Something's not.
It looks like it's going to have another leg up.
Oh, so today was the 90. For some reason, I can't get. Let me go back to the daily chart. Okay, has this stock only been trading for 2 days?
No, it's been trading for a few weeks. Maybe a couple of months.
Okay, there we go. The data was just hidden. All right. So yesterday we closed at, I don't know, 155. We opened today. Yeah,
obviously something gigantic happened overnight. So that's pretty. I don't believe there's any ever. Well, apart from those medical stocks we talked about, Intercept and but don't remember, this thing didn't open 175. It opened at 233. 230. It got to about 233. We sold it. And actually, I just took a shot at it on the open, selling it, and I did put a rebuy on it last night. And we bought it back at around 180 a couple of times. Actually, went up and down twice.
Here's headlines for. Well, I've already got that up. Tilray sales are irrelevant and its charts don't matter. Is playable at all by rational investors.
Can I duck out for a minute?
Yeah, go ahead. Dow rallies. Yeah, this Tilray. There we go. Now we're cooking. Tilray sales are irrelevant and its charts don't matter. Could we get the full story? Thanks. There we go. Now, what's the date? Today. Experts are wondering whether cannabis company Tilray is playable at all by rational investors or traders given the stock's insane fundamental valuation and utter defiance of its charts. Tilray was up some 47% to about $228 per share at last check, as well as around 100% in less than 2 days and more than 1,000% since its IPO. That means Tilray has cruised past Canopy Growth Corp to become the world's most valuable cannabis company. And where did you hear about it first? From John. I wanted to say CFRN, but how about CFRN/John? Tilray was up some 47%, 1,000% since the July 19th IPO. The move in Tilray is beyond comprehension. No one needs a market pundit to explain that. This is just the dynamic of trading low float stocks. Yes, we are short and will hold a manageable position until rationality sits in. Now, I'm curious what price they're short. The first question many investors are asking is how high this stock can really go. So far, there doesn't seem to be an answer. Tilray's CEO has said he foresees up to a $100 billion valuation for his company that would push Tilray shares above $1,000 at the float's current size. Although few Tilray watchers are that enthusiastic, rebuttals have been hard to come by as the company cruised past a $20 billion valuation this morning. Even some of the most bullish analysts have simply struggled to keep up with the stock's minute-by-minute moves. Citron loved Tilray at $26, but now we're shorting the stock. Here we go. Cowen lowered estimates and still raised target. Only shows retail investors gone mad. Okay. Options. Seymour was referring. I know guys who were short into the monthly expiration on Friday. News flow has been massive, but this is not fundamental. Fundamentally speaking, Tilray recorded $9.7 million in sales last quarter, doubling from the prior year. But even if the company doubles that again in the current quarter to $20 million, its current valuation at around $21 billion is more than 1,000 times sales. Now, that's okay. Is that sustainable? Is that realistic? As for technicals, their relative strength index, which we don't use, I'm not nothing against it. We don't personally use it because this whole overbought, oversold thing we've talked about so many times. You know, your stochastics or whatever can tell you that, oh, it's overbought, so you should sell. Well, when a stock gets overbought, guess what? People can keep buying. I guarantee you this thing's overbought. It was probably overbought yesterday, and then look what happened today. So the overbought, oversold, you can't put too much. If it's part of how you do your technical analysis, I'm not saying you shouldn't use it. I'm just saying I'm telling you what you already know. If you use it, you already know. A stock can stay overbought 3 weeks, 3 months, possibly 3 years. As short sellers get squeezed, and even bulls aren't sure how to price the stock given its incredible momentum, trading Tilray has become a case of hot potato. Given that we're at the halfway point of the company's lockup expiration on insider shares, it might be best to wait for some technical or fundamental signs that give a sense of where the stock is heading. Shorts might need some medicine. Good stuff, good stuff. But we gotta get back to work. NQ. NQ. Fallen on hard times, it has. How hard? Well, this was awesome. If you missed it earlier in the week, you should go visit the channel and check it out. Finally got the exit signal here. Now, this incredible sell-off in the NQ, anyone could have gotten short. Number 346, alert number 346. That's a post-beta number. And I guess 7532 was the number. Okay. But how would someone know? Now, we always talk about, you know, you can't get out at the swing high or the swing low. Why? Well, think about it. You don't notice the swing high or the swing low until after the fact. So if you do get out at the swing high or swing low, it's by accident. Or luck. Whichever. Flip a coin. So where here we had a lag and a retracement, and a lag and a retracement. Look how much further, you know, lag, retrace, lag, retrace, lag. It's probably just another retracement. Oh yeah, let it pull way back. Let it pull way back. Yeah, and then it'll give us a really nice leg to the downside. But it didn't. Exit this position at 74.39. The swing low was 22.75. Call it 23. No, call it 22. The swing low was 22, and this says get out at 39. It's not the bottom. It's pretty close. Bullish cross, price pulls away, price pulls back, up close, buy the open of the next candle, plus one tick. And there we go. No man's land. When these guys are bumping up against each other, the CFMA1, the BBC, you do not want to be a part of that. Hey, John.
Yeah. So you know
the information on this Tilray. If you, I'll just show you where to find it. If you if you find yourself here, then you can click this headline here, which then brings up this article, which we were just we read through. And no one, bulls, bears, nobody knows how to price this thing. And
well,
Citron,
obviously what's happened here is there's a big short position. That's the problem. You know, they shorted it $100 ago, so people are in desperate. You know,
it said they loved it at 26, the Citron, but now we are shorting the stock.
Yeah, this is, I'm telling you, they were shorting this thing at 60.
Okay, no, September 4th. See, this is a tweet from back on a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So these guys got themselves upside down real quick.
Yeah, no, for sure. And this is what happened in 2000. You know, people went short stocks in 1999, like Yahoo and stocks like that, and they got absolutely massacred. And this is a replay of the same thing, but what you have to be careful of is we're in an incredibly powerful market where there really could be a run for the roses, where just about everything goes up. You know, that could still happen. you know, for a lot of reasons. You know, if Kavanaugh gets confirmed, that might be interpreted as a big win for Trump in the market. Incidentally, nobody's talking about this, but if you Google Kavanaugh, Kavanaugh's mother, Judge Kavanaugh or Kavanaugh's mother, in the Daily Mail, there's an article that the mother, who's a judge, ruled on the parents' house of the accuser's parents' house back in 1996. It didn't get, it ultimately got resolved. It didn't get foreclosed on, but there's, you know, right, could this woman have just out of bloody mindedness targeted this guy, you know, and because she's a lefty anyway, you know, targeted this guy just to, or maybe you know, somehow this story got out and got approached by the Dems. They offered him $1 million or something, who knows, to start this caper. And you know, she don't even remember. They don't even remember where the party was at, for heaven's sake, and I mean, things like that. I mean, do you remember parties you went to in 1982? You know, where they were and stuff. No. Exactly. So it's very, and this, it looks, well, it's just the typical kind of, they've obviously, the fact that they held this information from July, they've been planning to do this just before the elections. Who knows what else they've got, you know, in the pipeline to kind of derail things. But as you know, up until now, the market has shrugged everything off. Everything, you know, we're at all-time record highs. It almost couldn't be better. But so there's two scenarios. We could be in the final stages of a in the topping process or temporary topping process here, and it could be a lot like late July of 2011, where the transports, incidentally, the transports, I don't think they've made a new all-time high today, or they might have just by a smidgen, but they're not being confirmed by the mid-cap today. So you've got these non-confirmations going on. You know, there's nothing really made a new high here in the last few days, except Tilray and a few other things.
John, so have a quick look at this feature. I'm going to take this down, but when in the Passport browser, as we're naming it, when you load a page that has a video like this thing you're just talking about,
yeah,
if you don't have to click anything. If you just run your mouse over it,
yeah,
it opens the video over here,
yeah,
so that you can watch the video,
right,
as you continue to browse and move about the page or the internet.
Yeah, I know, that's great.
That just happens. It's just like a built-in. It's pretty neat. It's pretty handy.
Yeah.
Surprised you thought of it. So go ahead. I'm sorry. I just want you to see that.
Click on that thing. Bill Maher scolds loser libs. What's that about?
Bill Maher. What has he got? What's he doing?
He doesn't normally scold libs.
Scolds loser libs over Kavanaugh High School allegation.
He's probably right.
Makes us
probably right.
That. And see, there it popped.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's a neat feature.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I ran the Cox Internet, and it says I got 185 and 12.4.
Yeah.
It says if you have this.
Oh, listen, another thing that's going on today, which probably helping the metals, is it really looks like the beans have bottomed here. It really looks like the lows are in. And I tell you what, we haven't gapped up in the soy meal for a long time, and we gapped up today. So in actual fact, that the meal bottomed yesterday, and the beans bottomed today, sort of thing. So there's definitely been a positive divergence there And in fact, everything's rallying in the grains, the soy oil, the rice, sorry, the wheat, corn, etc. It's all looking very good. In fact, the wheat's up pretty strongly. So it really is starting to look like the lows on the grains may be in, although the soy meal has turned down a little bit. But right now, I'd be inclined to stick with the beans. I think if there's a sudden rally towards the close, you might want to take home the grains, because why would the grains be rallying? Somebody's getting the lowdown on a deal either with China or with Europe or something, and if something like that gets announced, there could be a very big move. But I think you'll agree it looks quite constructive, right?
It does. I just want to see real quick here where it's going to potentially.
Yeah. Usually when you see the way it's been basing out there in the last couple of days, and now it's broken out, that's pretty bullish when that happens.
Yep.
One of the things I was going to mention this yesterday, I forgot.
Yeah, go ahead.
Facebook is actually looks like it's a buy right now. I was going to suggest that the Facebook, remember it dropped. It's literally dropped from 220 down to 160, which is a very catastrophic drop. But it looks like the lows might be in on Facebook right now, and the big thing that what could really just explode this market higher would be if Facebook comes out with better than expected numbers in a few weeks' time.
John, I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish your thought.
Could potentially, you could have $100 increase in the stock overnight, and you could be challenging the all-time highs again. I wouldn't rule that out from happening. That it's something, and obviously that would be incredibly bullish for everything, for all the stocks out there, if that happened.
Yeah, I hadn't looked at the chat box in a few minutes, but since I posed that question about the gap on Tilray, the CEO was on Mad Money last night.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, so boy, he'll be tooting his horn today.
Yeah. Well, it's acting real strong. Just made a new high a minute ago. So it's this is unprecedented. Well, apart from the medical stocks, and remember when Intercept gapped up $100, it went up another 100, or well, it eventually went up. Where did it go? It went from 60 to about 130, and eventually went to 500 to 450. So you can't rule that out for this thing right now. And remember, look, there was an article in this Rolling Stone about this new generation cartel. They're saying they're way richer than the Sinaloa cartel, than Chapo Guzman. I mean, he was worth 3 or 4 billion or something like that. They're saying this cartel is worth 20 billion already. So when you compare this cartel with a legitimate company that may have the right ingredients to capitalize on this new boom, maybe the market's starting to value these things with that in mind.
Yeah. Oh, when we were reading that article while you were on the phone about Tilray, current valuation puts it at 1,000 times earnings.
Yeah. Oh, it's look.
That's a little ridiculous. I mean, when people thought Facebook, their valuation.
Well, it doesn't have any. Rain doesn't have any earnings. It's got revenues. That's it. The earnings are negative. It's minus 12 million.
Yeah, let me see what the thing said. Probably this Tilray. Okay. Why does this come up with Class 2 common stock for Tilray? Why does that?
Don't know.
Because they don't normally come up like that. I don't know. So, but anyway, we had looked at the headlines. Is that data news window. There we go. I just want to go back and see for. Oh, we got more articles out. I want to go back to the one we were at. Okay, this one. And they gave us some kind of figure. I don't remember what it was. Come on. To read them, just click below and try. Oh, so now when I come back to this article, the second time, before the first time they let us read it, and now, all right. But anyway, obviously they were talking about revenue. If they have no earnings, that's what you're saying, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Whoever put this together. There's a new mania infecting the market. Pot stocks. Okay. October 17th, that's going to be a real important day because that's when the new law in Canada, I guess, takes effect. Effective October 17th. Okay. Oh, and they're going to infuse beer. I mean, everywhere you go, restaurants are going to pump up. Everything's going to be cannabis infused, and the microbreweries, you know, cannabis infused. I mean, it'll be a fad for to some degree, but I mean, it stood the test of time. It's not going away. It will always have its core group. Okay, so let's see, here's different numbers. The company now has a market value of more than $20 billion, with its stock price at $233, trading at nearly 500 times its 2018 estimated sales versus the S&P 500's 2.2 times sales, according to FactSet. So that's exactly what you said. You know, sales and earnings are two different things. Earnings are profit. So anyway, everybody in the audience knows that. This is just stupid time. I can't believe the valuations at this stage from John Nigerian. And one well-known short seller who actually recommended Tilray shares in the middle of August believes it's gone crazy. Yeah, so anyway. Options, that other article that we couldn't get back to, there was some talk about the options that were available on this thing, and that might be a way to take advantage of it. So, okay, soybeans, from the most recent swing high to the most recent swing low, we've had almost a 50% retracement. And you feel that what we're looking at here potentially could be the bottom?
Yeah, it looks pretty good on the daily chart for that to be the case. And it's pretty oversold too, you know. And not only that, but when the grains bottom in the fall, it's really usually very bullish when that happens. So for the next year.
When the grains bottom in the fall. That's somehow a poetic ring to it.
Do you have a continuation chart on the beans?
I do.
I mean, look at today. I mean, it's a big day. It's taken out yesterday's day. It's a kind of not quite an outside day, but look at the last time this happened. We had a pretty big up move, almost 100 point up move. So
that's the continuation.
Okay, keep going, because the more
you want to bring more in?
Yeah, right, as far back as possible.
As far back as possible. Well, then I should shift it up to a weekly.
Yeah, you see how it's taken out those previous lows. I mean, we're really in the depths right now on this stuff.
When I first started looking at beans, we had beans in the teens. It was quite a while
Yeah,
back.
and I mean, look at the way, you know, the last bottom, which I remember.
I don't
See how the last bottom took so long to make, and then it took off and never looked. It like took off like a rocket. See that?
Yep.
That
was in 2015. Yeah.
Yeah. Does it go back to 2008? This thing?
No, it looks like as far back as this one will take me is 2011. But we can try. We can try this one. Get rid of all this stuff that I don't need. Okay. Yes. Soybean futures. Continuous current contract in front. Okay. Let me just go ahead and jump start this to a week. Okay. And now, how far do you want to go back?
As far as possible.
Well, I'm in 1996 right now.
Yeah, almost the whole history would be worth looking at right here.
Looks like that's as far as it wants to take me.
Yeah, you know, that's interesting
okay,
because
this is 1988. I mean,
well, it's, number one, it shows you how low soybeans can go, so
yeah.
That's something to keep in mind. And secondly, you know, if we were to bottom here and start going higher, it would be like kind of a double bottom, which would be, you know, would be good. And there is, but you know, certainly
1971. Look at that, John. 1971.
Yeah.
Now that's,
you know, could still come down to that previous, where is it? Just below 800. You see that previous bottom there? So I wouldn't, I mean, look, it's okay for the, it's rallying. It looks like a rally's coming, but, you know, it's
now we're still negative on a monthly chart.
Yeah.
A monthly chart doesn't look so hot.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you take it up to weekly, does that look any better? Yeah, it does. Because you got this doji forming here on the weekly.
Yeah.
And so a positive.
I mean, look, you know, this thing could be, you know, if it turns out to be the bottom, it could rocket right back up to the highs of the year. You know, it could do it. So you have to sort of play it day by day, just like, you know, you're giving advice out on beans every day, and I think you've done pretty well navigating through a pretty difficult market.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, we try. From here, 860. Now, this pricing can be confusing depending upon what type of chart you folks use. You can see here that means $8.40. Okay? It's like, I think with these charts we had to do something to reset the pricing so that it was understandable. But if anyone has any questions on that, just let me know. All right, let me get this back. What else you want to cover?
Well, we talked about the oil. The oil is looking really strong today. The energy sector. It's kind of interesting because the natural gas shot up the last few days, and sometimes that's a leading indicator. So the tightness in this market is for sure being manifested in the price right now, and it's probably helping. You know, the fact that the oil stocks are up today is kind of helping the market in general. The bonds are tanking again. You know, at some point, if the bonds keep tanking, they could, you know, at some point the market could get impacted by that, and to a certain extent that's happening. You know, the S&P's, the whole time we've been on the show, it's still about the same price as it was, you know, a few hours ago.
So the Logic 247, John, we put out an alert. L2, it was alert number 356. We said to consider selling the bonds at 141.17. So yesterday before the close, we hit 140.17, which was $1,000 per contract, and then we were just waiting on an exit signal. The exit signal came right here. But then last night, let me pull it up and just see exactly what the number was. Here, ZS. I'm in the wrong channel. I'm getting the right channel. There we go. So now, ZS8. I'm sorry, ZZ. How about that? The search function on this thing is just incredible. Okay, so is that the master? Bonds. Okay. This chart is yeah, 2-minute warning at the bell. Thought we had put on an additional one last night. I guess that was on the Concierge Trade Alerts. It must have been. Yeah, on the Concierge Trade Alerts, the sell was 140.12. So from 140.12, we've now dropped to 40.12. Right there. 140.12 took us down. And that's pull back and then triggered again, and then a pull back. So we had two triggers off of that 140.12. The swing low there was 140.07, so that's 5. But anytime bonds move a point from 141 to 142 or 141.10 to 142.10, that's $1,000 per contract. 32 ticks, 31.25 per tick. Now, if you're brand new to trading, there's probably something other than bonds that you might want to consider taking a good look at first. Do you find bonds difficult compared for someone who's just learning how to trade now?
No, bonds, I'd avoid them because you know, they're very difficult to trade.
On the right side of the, you know, if you're on the profitable side of the trade, well then, yeah, $31.25 a tick is great. But if you're on the other side, you know, it's difficult. So just know that someday maybe you'll go trade bonds, but you might find a home somewhere else. Now, a lot of people trade bonds exclusively. That's all they do, and they do it very well. And I applaud them because
they're very, very difficult to trade because they often do things that are, you know, not sort of. Because it's so, they can do things that are so you know, they're just not in whack with the market a lot of times, and you know, the market is how the market works with bonds. I mean, look, the bonds have really been going probably up until the tech stocks started selling off. You know, the Nasdaq peaked out. The bonds had been pretty subdued. You know, they were pretty much in the tailing end of a rally. Now that they're in a downtrend, it's starting to impact the tech stocks, but it's helping a lot of other stocks. And this is how you get this dichotomy, where the Dow can suddenly, you know, just by hook or by crook, the Dow looks like somehow it's going to get to a new high here in the next few days. I mean, it may be premature if the market pulls back very strongly for some reason. It may be premature for the top, may be premature at this stage, but it doesn't mean to say, you know, I mean, if we did sell off from here sharply, you know, people would say, well, the Dow couldn't crack it. It got to 26,500 earlier today, but it just couldn't get the last couple of hundred points to get to an all-time record. It's got to get to 26,607, I think, to get that. That's what it is on that's on the futures anyway. I think it's a bit different on the Dow itself. It's got to get to 26,616.71 to get to a new all-time high. So it's literally, you know,
it's intraday or closing high.
That's actually a closing high. 26,616. And that's interesting because the last time that was on the 26th of January, it closed at an all-time high on the highest tick of the day. And the next day, it never got any higher. That's the next day it went down a lot. So that sort of tells you that, you know, sometimes when the Dow gets to an exhaustion top, it can fall away very quickly. And it did fall away very quickly because a week later, it was like 23,000. It was down 3,000 in a week. Think about that. So, you know, we're getting up to an area where you obviously have to be extremely careful because, you know, you're putting in a huge potential double top here you know, it's probably going to go a bit higher. I mean, it could go anywhere between 26,650 and 26,750. And remember, 26,750 is one of our targets. So, you know, it could overshoot by $1, by 150 or so, or 200 points, and then fall away, you know, because in spite of everything, we're still in a pretty strong market.
Yeah, I mean, by all means. Everybody.
And there's an outside look. We're so close to 3,000 on the S&P. You know, the potential for a run for the roses here, especially if the earnings come out next, you know, and if Google gaps $50 higher, or Amazon gaps $100 higher, I mean, it's going to set the market on fire.
I think so.
And it's hard to see, you know, we're with the economy being this tight, with the only thing is a little bit less than last time was the retail sales were off a little bit, but you know, essentially they're the same as what they were before because they're only down a fraction of a percent. So people are still spending, and most of the retail stocks are near their highs. Look at Lulu, for example. So you know, the strength of the economy, and remember, every time you add a few 100,000 new hires, I mean, these are people who suddenly getting paid, and they're going out and buying stuff, and it's accretive to the economy. You know, that's what 4 million new jobs are doing to the economy. 4 million new spenders that weren't there before. And don't forget, corporate profits are going through the roof, you know, all-time record highs. So companies are buying more stuff, and you know, with AMD hitting new highs, people are buying AMD chips and computers, and Nvidia is the same. You know, it's still, you know, we're nowhere near peaking from what it looks like at the moment, anyway. And after, you know, the gold's all gapped up today, and the metals are starting to accelerate here in the afternoon. So, and the gold stocks are coming back again. So it definitely looks, the gold is starting to look very bullish, frankly. And with the palladium got up to 1033 this morning. It's pulled back a little bit, but you know, it only went through 1,000 yesterday. So the palladium is just absolutely smoking, and I think, and that's hard for the platinum to ignore now, since they're kind of joined at the hip.
Gotcha.
Well, listen, thanks very much. Oh, the other one is coffee. You know, maybe coffee got down to 95, it's turned up a little bit. Maybe the coffee is bottoming as well. So
I spotted an article somewhere today. I've got it. I'm planning to go back and read it, but the picture was just a big mound of coffee beans. So I don't know if it's, you know, pro, con, I have no idea, but it was a front page type issue on Flipboard. Okie doke. Do you use a tablet, John? Do you use like an iPad?
No, I don't.
Or some kind of tablet? Okay.
No, I don't.
If you ever do, Flipboard is an app you absolutely want to use. So.
Okay.
Dow hits its highest level since January, and boy, tablets have gotten so affordable. But I've used some Android tablets, and once you've used an iPad, I mean, it's kind of like once you've driven a Mercedes, there really isn't any other car. I mean, there are other cars, and I haven't been in a Mercedes in quite a while. I mean, but I felt that way for a very long time. It was, there were Mercedes and there were other cars. There just was no comparison. I don't know that holds true.
I think the gap is being narrowed a lot these days. A lot of these cars are pretty cool these days. Oh, by the way, did you know the Saudis actually put the money into that Lucid?
No, what did they?
Yeah, they actually did do it. They did it, and they to the exclusion of Tesla.
So okay. When's that going to be available?
Pretty soon. I think it was in next year. I think it starts.
We looked at it the other day. Didn't it say you could place an order online?
Yeah, that's right. I think it'll be ready early next year.
But they don't know what the price is going to be yet. So I'm sure if you're actually reserving one, they've got some kind of ballpark idea, but maybe not. When you build a price, if it's too much, you can just cancel.
Yeah, it kind of looks like, what? The Dow just might crack it here between today and tomorrow. The Nasdaq's cut its losses from being down 50 to down 16, and the S&P's picking up now. So and that thing we were looking at earlier on with you looks like it's going to break out from that basing formation. So kind of looks like and look, the interest rates are, this is where the Dow, the markets could get very, very volatile, because when the market is responding to lower interest rates, or higher interest rates rather, lower bond prices, that's when it's like pouring gasoline on the fire. It's really, and that's starting to happen here.
Okay, here's a continuation chart on the Dow. Now I show the last swing high up at, and this was back in January, 26684. And on that day we closed at 26429. And that's based off the continuous contract. So we're awfully close.
Tilray just hit 245.
Did it really?
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like, I might as well say it, it's probably going to go to 300. So,
probably.
That wouldn't be bad. Call 200 yesterday, 300 today. Let's see what happens. So.
Tilray. There it is on a weekly chart. That's quite a week.
Yeah.
Let's get down. I haven't looked at it in any smaller time frames. Okay, there's 30 minutes. Yeah. All right. Well, John, have a great day. Thanks so much.
You too. And thanks a lot.
We look forward to talking to you tomorrow.
By the way, the other thing that's going on today is the Chinese, all the Chinese stocks gapped higher today, big time, and the emerging markets. So, this is actually very interesting. The fact that, well, listen, I think to be fair, we called this emerging market bottom here a couple of weeks ago, and or even a week ago, along with the Chinese, the stimulus that they, sometimes when the Chinese announce a stimulus, it takes a few weeks to take effect, but obviously it's already working. And the first place it went apparently was into the buildings. The value of real estate just shot up again. And so, it's sort of back to boom again in China. And remember, this is a three-wave pullback in the Chinese stock market that is essentially beginning what looks like a new upwave now that could potentially take us to new all-time highs in the Chinese market. So what does that tell you? Probably tells you that there's going to be a deal. I mean, even the way the markets are acting ahead of these tariffs tells you there's probably some kind of a deal in the works.
Well, did you see what Jack Ma has done? Remember,
what did he say?
He promised to create 1 million U.S. jobs.
Yeah.
Well, he's taken that back.
Oh, really?
Jack Ma, the founder and chairman of Alibaba, says the company no longer plans to create 1 million jobs in the United States in the wake of ongoing trade conflict between the U.S. and China. Ma made
Probably
his
doing that for.
original job creation pronouncement during a high-profile meeting with Donald Trump in January of 2017, before the Trump inauguration.
Probably because he can't do it. That's
Promises.
might be
Well,
one
that's,
reason.
this article goes on to say that, that was a little, far-reaching to start
Yeah.
with.
But it's been smoked by Amazon, and secondly, secondly that he's probably done it for political purposes, being pressured, to say something, and it might. But look, but why would Boeing be going to an all-time high here? It's not far away from going to an all-time high. A week ago they were saying Boeing was having production problems and things, and the supply chain was sort of slowing it down, and all of a sudden the stock's gone up $30 or $40 since then. It seems to me that the Chinese sooner or later are going to announce an aircraft order, probably a big one, and that could be the beginning of a thawing in this whole thing. And you know what? It could come. I mean, look at the way the market's acting. The market's telling you whatever it is, whatever fear it has is not being manifested today. That's for sure.
Yeah, this is. I'm sure you probably heard this before, but I'll close you out today with this. Jack Ma was destined to live an ordinary life. He failed the Chinese university entrance exam several times before finally being accepted by the worst school in Hangzhou, and he was rejected from a dozen jobs, even selling chicken at KFC. Ma was ready to settle into a quiet life as an English teacher in eastern China, a position with few advancement prospects, when during a trip to Seattle in 1995, working as a translator for a trade delegation, everything changed. A friend showed Jack the internet. Jack placed a toe on the information superhighway with a one-word search: beer. Now, 2 decades later, he's the richest man in Asia, head of an e-commerce and finance empire that includes Alibaba, one of the largest retailers in the world. That's something we have to remember, that that's not his. He's not a one-trick pony. He's got more going on than just Alibaba.
Yeah,
now Ma has once again set his
he owns the PayPal of China, and
yeah.
The other thing is,
does he own that?
Don't know about that, but he's got the Uber of China. Just every day, and this was a couple of years ago, they were doing 6 million transactions a day. That was a couple of years ago through the PayPal of China. So think about that.
Yeah.
It's probably many times that today.
Right. The key difference between Alibaba and Amazon. While Bezos' Amazon sells products to consumers, maintaining massive warehouses and operating a sophisticated logistics network, Alibaba's sites are simply a medium, connecting consumers with merchants who ship through independent couriers. This has led experts to say Alibaba's business model is closer to Google than Amazon. And that, you know what? That says a whole lot. We talked about this the other day briefly. I mean, yes, Google has to have a lot of servers, and of course they have to have employees, but the infrastructure cost, the cost for Google to do business, the cost of doing business by Google is a fraction of the cost of doing business for Amazon. I mean, Amazon takes a lot of, if you want to sell on Amazon, they'll warehouse your product, they'll ship your product for you, they'll handle your returns. I mean, they are your complete, back office. All you got to do is somehow drive people to your page and get them to buy your stuff. But they handle, that's a lot of work. Manual labor. And when you think about it, the work required, if Google never had another innovation and, they could just sail off into the sunset, but Amazon, they have to reinvent and reevaluate and reallocate on a daily basis, literally minute by minute. Google can just put it on cruise control and go. Not that they will, and not that they are, but they could, and that in and of itself is huge.
Yeah.
All right, John. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks a lot. Great afternoon. Great show. Appreciate it.
Yeah, enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay.
All right, folks. Let me take care of John's mic. Get that on mute. And there we go. And now we move into our good word for the day. Any final questions regarding anything? Put it in the chat box. The blessing of obedience. Deuteronomy 28:2. All these blessings will come upon you and accompany you if you obey the Lord. Deuteronomy 28:2. Of course, we've all heard that God prefers obedience over sacrifice. In a survey, hundreds of people were asked, what's the best thing that's happened to you in the last 5 years? In fact, let me ask you, what's the best thing that's happened to you in the last 5 years? Tick tock, tick tock. All right. Now, in the survey, not you, but in this survey that prompted this discussion, amazingly many people answered nothing. It was a simple question. What's the best thing that's happened to you in the last 5 years? Many people said nothing. Man, we take so much for granted. God's word promises us daily bread, daily benefits, and daily blessings. Yet, these people couldn't even think of one good thing that happened to them in half a decade. That's a sad life. Author John Mason observes, we typically see things not as they are, but as we are. By how we position ourselves, we'll see the evidence of God everywhere or nowhere. Too often our minds are locked on one track. We're looking for red, so we overlook blue. We're thinking tomorrow, God says now. We're looking everywhere when the answer is right under our nose. When a person is positioned correctly, he's ready to receive all God has for him or her. The Bible says, all these blessings will come upon you and accompany you if you obey the Lord your God. You'll be blessed in the city and blessed in the country. The fruit of your womb will be blessed. You'll be blessed when you come in. You'll be blessed when you go out. The Lord will grant that the enemies who rise up against you will be defeated before you. They will come at you from one direction, but flee from you in 7. The Lord will grant you abundant prosperity. The Lord will make you the head and not the tail. But it all hinges on one thing. All of those promises. Blessed in the city, blessed in the country, your children will be blessed. Blessed when you come in, blessed when you go out. Somebody messes with you, they're defeated before they get to you. If they come at you from one direction, they'll scatter in 7. Abundant prosperity. The head and not the tail, above and not beneath. But it all hinges on one thing. If you obey the Lord. Deuteronomy 28:2, 13. 28:2 through 13. Verse 2 says, all these blessings, everything we just mentioned, will come on you and accompany you if you obey the Lord your God. Are you? Am I? Big question, huh? There's something to ponder till tomorrow. All those promises, if you obey God. Sadly, many people in the world don't know what God wants or expects of them. The unchurched, those who maybe were churched and turned a deaf ear intentionally. Notice the words, if you obey the Lord. Just read it. Make sure you highlight that part, because it's a conditional promise. God's love is guaranteed and unconditional. There's no condition on God's love, but His blessings require cooperation on your part. In other words, you got to do your part, and your part is to simply obey. Do what God tells you to do. Some things He speaks to us as His people. Some things He speaks to you individually as His son or daughter. So whether He's speaking to us as a group or individually, I can't encourage enough that today all of us, the empirical we, walk in obedience. Man, I love the sound of being blessed in the city, blessed in the country, blessed coming in, blessed going out. Just one condition. One condition. If you want to win, you got to play, right? Isn't that how the commercial goes? If you want to be blessed, there's the recipe, there's the directions, there's the instructions. There's only one ingredient: obedience. Thanks for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell. This is the outro, folks. Pray for laws, then. See ya.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading Emini Futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.